Don't give up all the way to the NWRA. Don't let that sludge cross the Walpole line. We're already doing our share, and it's just not fair to truck that sludge over the Walpole line. The Duke is tall friend, he can take it to the bank. That sludge will go elsewhere. We already tried, we couldn't rely, and now it's more than we can bear. Don't let it cross over, cross over. Let that sludge cross the Walpole line. Don't let it cross over, cross over. Don't let that sludge cross the Walpole line. Sharing with Norwood, Pottsville, Norfolk, Dover, Westwood. Join us to turn them down.
Doesn't even work. Some bike makes those funny sounds, but it's we're out on our bike.
A sludge song for our state.
Don't give up all the way to the NWRA. Don't let that sludge cross the Walpole line. We're already doing our share, and it's just not fair to truck that sludge over the Walpole line. The Duke is tall friend, he can take it to the bank. That sludge will go elsewhere. We already tried, we couldn't rely, and now it's more than we can bear. Don't let it cross over, cross over. Let that sludge cross the Walpole line. Don't let it cross over, cross over. Don't let that sludge cross the Walpole line. With Midfield, Sharon, with Norwood, Pottsville, Norfolk, Dover, Westwood. Join us to turn them down. We won't become the sight. We'll stand together and fight. The State House, our battleground. Don't let it cross over, cross over. That sludge cross the Walpole line. Don't let it cross over, cross over. That sludge cross the Walpole line. sludge cross the walpole line. Don't let it cross over, cross over. Let that sludge cross the walpole line. Don't let it cross over, cross over. Don't let that sludge cross the walpole line. Don't let it cross over, cross over. Don't let that sludge cross the walpole line. Don't let it cross over, cross over. Let that sludge cross the walpole line. Don't let it cross over, cross over. Let that sludge cross the walpole line. Don't let that sludge cross over the walpole line.
Having been asked to lip sync in the choir in elementary school, I'm not the one to lead a song, but I think it turned out pretty well. You know, there's a little confusion maybe on why we're here today. When we were handing out flyers, a lot of you said, gee, we thought it was over. But it's not over because the MWRA is insistent upon coming on this land to do testing. We received word that they intend to access the land on or after March 18th to do field studies, which includes the test pits that we've objected to all along. They will also do some field study works, including surveys and seismic testing. The towns of Norfolk and Walpole did file injunctions, and that injunction was taken under advisement in Judge Kratzley's court and for a week. And we received word last week that we were denied that injunction. Our lawyers are also appealing that Monday morning. So we're here today because we're angry, are we not? Are we angry? We've had it. We do not approve of them trying to access this land as they continue to do. In fact, is it not true that the Massachusetts State Legislature said no? Is it true? Said no! We have a lot of people who realize this is a grave mistake. The new commissioner of the Department of Corrections has come out in public to say that he has grave concerns about what's going on here. He needs this land for prison expansion, and yet we have an agency out of control who apparently answers to no one, who insists that they will continue pursuing access to the land. What do you think? No way! You know, it's interesting making phone calls. You can learn a lot on the phone. I talked to Mr. Burens of the MWRA Friday. I thought it might be interesting to ask them, through him, how much money, they're talking about ratepayers' money, how much money the 6 weeks of work, they will be here for 6 weeks. Interestingly enough, he didn't know. Does that strike you as odd? He has no... Stupid! How many of us here, men and women who work on projects, don't know how much a project is going to cost, but you're still doing it? Do we work like that? No. But the MWRA does. Aside from the fact that we don't know what this particular work will do, which to me is a little bit of public deception maybe, there's more deception in the fact that we don't know the truth about the sewer hookups. I'm getting a word here from my coordinator, Lisa Powers, up here. Yep. I don't want to be up here. We've been a little deceived on the issue of sewer hookup, and that will be addressed at length later. Not to mention the cost of the prison replacement issues and all the other things that we've addressed in the past and are well aware of. Not to mention, again, the legislative decision. I don't know why that rings true to me again, that the issue was taken to the State House. We lobbied. We did an educated lobbying effort. The representatives who voted on that issue voted on it because they were educated on it, and their answer was no. The governor, our new governor, Weld, who was one of the very first people to walk the site here, was opposed to it then and remains opposed to it. We will address his current activity in a minute. The Secretary of Environmental Affairs, Sue Tierney, is very concerned and is opposed to this siting. She is looking into alternatives at this point in time. Let me see. I'm going by notes today because usually I don't and I miss. Studies have shown that the EPA's regulation of a 3-year backup site is a very, very stringent and unusual regulation. As far as we know, there's no other state in this country that is required to have a 3-year backup site for sludge. There are safer places and there are safer methods. The MWRA and the EPA have turned everything around and seem to put the responsibility for finding an alternative to this major issue on, number one, the state legislature, and number two, us. I'm not an expert. We've done our work. We've given them a lot of different ideas. Seems like every time someone comes up with an idea that seems to be viable to other people, the MWRA and the EPA pull the rug out from under our feet and say, no, it won't work because, and because. It goes on and on. Be patient. As I said, other states like New Jersey, New York, and California have comprehensive plans encompassing many methods to dispose of sludge, but not the MWRA. The best solution they have proposed is landfilling over an aquifer. In my opinion, a rather prehistoric method of disposal and a serious threat to our supply of drinking water and certainly public safety. I'm going to run on with the program, and we have some speakers here that I think have some important things to say. I'd like to introduce to you right now someone who, in my opinion, and I think this is shared by everyone here, we wouldn't be where we are today without Frank Woodward. Frank has spent I don't know how many sludge-filled days and nights. And working very closely with him, I can assure each and every one of you has gone above and beyond what I would consider the call of duty of any state representative. I admire his work and thank him so much. Frank? Thank you, Frank! Thank you, Frank!
So we like what you sit and watch the sludge fun.
I know Frank will give us a good update on the political progress, etc.
Thanks very much, Sue, and thank all of you for coming out this afternoon. It's a little warmer than it usually is, isn't it? A little warmer. But June 10th, 1985, that's the first letter I ever received from the MWRA. It was from a guy named Gridzik. Gridzik was the predecessor of Paul Levy, because I was concerned way back then. And I remind people that it's been a longer fight than we all like to remember. We all say 2 years, 3 years, 3.5 years. We keep forgetting to add the years. It's been 5 years this coming June. Just this past Thursday, just to bring you up to date a little bit on what's been going on, this past Thursday, the Governor Wells, and we all know Mike DeLand was the predecessor to Julie Balaga. And the governor knows Mike DeLand very well. And he said, I might as well have been talking to the tree. Because he's dug his heels in also. Now, coming up Monday or Tuesday, tomorrow Tuesday, we're going to be meeting again, whether it's in the State House or in one of the other buildings, the McCormick building, to finally bring together some people to crunch numbers. You know, you get some numbers from the MWRA, and then you justify them. And then you tell the Secretary of Environmental Affairs what your numbers are, and the MWRA says, no, those are wrong, they're way off base, just like we've always been reading about. So Monday or Tuesday, tomorrow Tuesday, we're bringing Balaga, or rather Burens, and Sue Tierney, and some other folks together in one room and crunch the same numbers for the first time. Just to show that those numbers that the MWRA have been giving are either prefabricated every time they do them, because they keep changing all the time, as we all know, and crunch them the same way with the same people that keep talking about this, whether it's us, whether it's the environmental secretary or anyone else. There have been, when people say we haven't made any movement as far as looking for other sites, it's really not our job to be looking for other sites. But when I talked to Bill Well back in December and January about somewhere down in Rhode Island, Woonsocket, where they're doing something that they're not doing here, and that is they're incinerating And I said 2 years ago to the MWRA, I didn't think they'd ever be able to get away without incinerating. So he said, well, when my people get on board, would you bring them down there? So we did. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I went down there, Senator Lane, myself, and some people from my office, and Sue Tierney. And in Woonsocket, private entity went into a plant, an incinerator, and with $3 to $4 million, they retrofit that place. The EPA went down there with 26 people. They combed over the plant, and they said, this is great, go ahead. They gave them all their imprimatur as far as running that plant. They incinerate 2/3 of Rhode Island sludge. They incinerate Greater Lawrence's sludge. They incinerate the town of Hull sludge. They incinerate Millis, Medway, and Medfield sludge. And while they can't take on any more, they certainly have the technology, and others have the technology, to do that somewhere else. And what we did is we brought them down to say that there is another solution. So Sue Tierney went back and they crunched some more numbers just to try and bring the MWRA up to speed with telling the truth about what those numbers really mean and what they really are. Now, there is yet another site and yet another way to do this. And while I can't really tell you what it is, I can tell you what it is, but I can't tell you where it is that last week a lobbyist came to my office and he brought to me, and also mentioned it to our lobbyist, Dickie McDonough, about something else that can be done as far as getting rid of this sludge or this pelletizing if the pelletizing plant breaks down in Quincy. That meeting is going to take place this coming Thursday with some folks, and I mentioned it to the governor Thursday night and Friday morning. And he said, is it in the state? And I said, yes, it is in the state. It's a double-lined landfill. It has a leachate collection system. It's being used now. And why can't we sell that to the MWRA? So there is another solution also, even though the MWRA has been digging in their heels. And no one can tell me that when we went to that courtroom that day, that if Judge Mazzone said to the MWRA, instead of telling us and making sanctions and so forth, look, MWRA, you come back here in 2 months, 60 days, with another way to do this in another site. You can't tell me, and no one can tell me, that Paul Levy and the MWRA wouldn't go out and find another way to do it. They damn well would have done that. But they just figured that Judge Mazzone would do their work for them, and once again, they hide behind the judge's robes. So that's what I have up to this point in time, and I want to thank all of you again for coming out today. And I know there's some other parts of the program, and we all sang so well that first song. We're going to sing some others. But Governor Wells been great. He's been right on the money. In fact, he told me the other night, Frankie said, I've been working, it seems, for you in Walpole and Norfolk more than I've been doing some of my own stuff. But I thanked him for that. And Sue mentioned the vote that we took back in December, and believe me, if that vote hadn't gone the way it was, I think that we'd have some unfriendly neighbor up the street. People have asked me, what about a new bill coming in? There isn't anybody looking to put a new bill in, although there was a rumor that Representative Reinstein was going to do that, and I told him I'd kill him. So he backed off a little bit. Not that I'm that big and could threaten and really do that, but we're all trying to find a solution, and all your help, all your calls, and all your letters, I can't tell you how much they've helped. They not only helped me, they certainly helped my other colleagues, and certainly my colleagues who voted the right way back in December. So keep up the good work, and I can't tell you enough what a terrific job you're doing, and you have been doing. And let's hope that one of these days we meet and it's for a party. And it's a party for us, and thanks a lot.
I'm not quite sure if Senator Chris Lane is here. If he is here in the audience, we invited him to come today, but he was not quite sure of his plan, so I'll just give a second. I don't see anyone coming forth. And Dan O'Neill from the Prison Guards Union was planning to be with us today, and due to a death in his family or friend's family, he is unfortunately not with us. But Jim Brady will address his commitment to this cause in a moment. Next, I'd like to introduce Gebe Freed, who is a Norfolk resident who has some important things to share with us. And Jim, here he comes running down the street. A physical fitness nut. Jim wants to run to the truck. Yeah. Hey, Jim. Good running. Jim has worked long and hard, and I'm sure has some good things to share with us today.
Thank you, one and all. It's a little hairy down there by the intersection, trying to slow the traffic down. Well, what I'd like to do today is give you a little reason why we're angry and why we're out here. Can't hear me? Hear me now? Okay. I want to give you reasons why we're angry and why we're here today. I'd like you to try to help me so that they can hear us inside and they can hear us all the way down in Boston. So after I finish each reason, I'd like you to chant out, "No sludge." All right, let's start. Let's think of the first thing that they did to us. The DEP, Department of Environmental Protection for the state, came up with this great idea of changing the category of what sewerage was. They changed the regulations from being solid waste to being this great new title called residual waste. What that allows the NWRA to do is now to pretty much site it any place they want. Very poor for the protection of our environment. And that's despite the federal laws which still say that the sewerage is solid waste. So let them hear inside, let them hear in Boston what that sign says. No sludge. I didn't hear you. All right, let's hear the next one. Why we're angry. The siting process. And we can all tell a little bit about that from what we've read in the papers. But here's a real good classic example. The former Environmental Secretary of Affairs, Mr. Hoyt, in the 11th hour, changed what was called equitable responsibility. This category in which those 299 other sites were looked at. When they got down to 12, they said, we got to change the rules because there's a problem. Because Walpole and Norfolk areas got 4 prisons. So what they did is they said, we're going to equate equitable responsibility to mean that if you got 4 prisons, it means the same as having an MBT bus stop.
Come on!
That's right. Can I hear you? Not loud enough. All right. And if that's not getting you angry, let me tell you some more. The former governor, Dukakis. He promised our legislative people, Frank in particular and others, he said not only once, not only twice, not only 3 times, he said, guess what? It's not going to go in Walpole. Believe me, I'm giving you my word. The 11th hour came before the vote. And what happened? Governor Dukakis turned around and said, guess what? I'm changing my word. Isn't this great democracy? I can change my mind. And patted our legislators on the back and said, sorry. What are we going to say to them? No sludge! They can't hear you in Boston. No sludge! All right. Let's look at the NWRA. They made us very angry. What did they do when they came out here? And they did all these nice, fancy studies. And they spent these millions of dollars in engineering studies. What did they do? They found the following. At least they said they did. They found a sewer line to the site. They found a water line to the site. Wrong. They found a railroad spur to the site. And on top of that, they said it's a perfect site. It meets our criteria of at least 100 acres that we can use. And they said when we've done our studying and modeling and to see whether or not it's going to be a problem with the water, no problem. Well, guess what? They were wrong. counts. There's no sewer line out there. There's no water line out there. There is no railroad spur out there. Deception again on their part. Who's lying? Their test wells, they said they were in the right spot. Guess what? 23 of the 27 were off, and one of them was off 400 feet.
Public deception.
Deception again. Great spending of public money. Good studies. Good engineering firms. I'm glad we never hired them to check the data. What do we want to say to them?
No slide!
Can't hear you.
No slide!
All right. Let's look at something else. It's very interesting. The MWRA said they would build the state-of-the-art landfill, and it would never leak and be a problem. Guess what? They were wrong. Again and again. Numerous EPA, Environmental Protection Agency studies have shown conclusively all landfills leak and will eventually contaminate the groundwater. Right?
We know it.
All right, we know that we are at the head or close to the head of the Charles River water basin, and that the Neponset River sole source aquifer is there. The water supply on the Charles River watershed area takes care of 1.2 million people, 32 municipal wells and numerous private wells, all downstream and all supplying our water needs in Norfolk, the Neponset Valley, supplying Walpole and other towns. So what have we learned? We've learned nothing, the NWRA nor the EPA, in talking about landfills not polluting. Just look at, you've read the papers, Falmouth. Since 1960s, they still haven't cleaned up the water down there from the Otis Air Force Base. Look at Holyoke, which is a Superfund site. They haven't cleaned it up yet. When one of the EPA officials, Paul Keogh, was asked how long would it take, he said maybe about 25 years. Can you wait that long? No! All right, I think we haven't learned our lessons. What do we want to say to them in Boston?
No slide!
Can't hear you.
No slide!
All right, let's look at one other thing. The NWRA and the EPA have made it very easy to get access to the media. We've had to fight and struggle to get the media here. We recognize today Channel 4 and some of the other here. But one of the problems is that EPA and MWRA had the inside to the judge. All their reports to him were what they found, and any meetings and any documentation we sent in went through their reports. And a lot of our material was insignificantly left out. I wonder why. Is that deception? Yes. And now, finally, the media is listening to us. Finally, after we met with the editorial boards in the Globe and the Herald, they're printing our editorials. Finally. And finally, we know that we've gotten our court cases in there, and the judge and judges will hear us. Yes?
Yes!
And what do we want to say to them in Boston?
No slide!
Louder!
No slide!
All right, we talked about alternatives. We've given them all. We've given them to them again and again and again. And they keep coming back to us, and they keep persisting, and they keep saying, yeah, that's true, the legislature hasn't given us the land, but we want it. Why? Why? We keep asking why. Well, let's listen to what Mr. Burens, who's the project director for the MWRA on the site, what he said in June. He said the following. He said, we want state land so we can control what's being done on the site.
Scary.
It's real scary. And we want no local boards of health to come in and inspect or to try to stop us in what we're doing. Do you want that?
No!
Let's hear what we're going to say to them.
No slide!
I can't hear you.
No slide!
All right, let's give them two more. the NWRA and the EPA refuses to abide by the administrative and regulatory laws that exist on this site. They have not responded responsibly to the Clean Water Act, the Navigable Water Acts, all the DEP regulations. They're reading them their way. Wait until we're in court. Let's tell them what we think. All right. Let's talk about those that have tried to help us. What's happened? The public officials under the Dukakis administration who stood up and said no. Look what happened to him. Commissioner Fair of the Department of Corrections. He's gone. He left. Commissioner Vos, he stood up and said no. He's gone. When we met with the Mass Environmental Protection Agency, Mr. Davies, who was in charge of it, and he supported us, and he said the following in the way he supported us. He said, no chlorine would ever be used on this site or any future sites that were being proposed by the NWRA. Guess what? A month after he said that to us 3 times in a row, when we questioned him and we had it on tape, the Foxborough Point Head work site came into line, chlorine, and since then 3 others went online. Chlorine. We don't want chlorine gas up there that would be affecting the leachate and before they transport it out. So what do we want to say to them? No flight! I want it louder. No flight! Okay, one more and last one pertaining to the prison. There is no contingency plan in case there's a problem at the site, and the problems can be numerous, from gas leaks, gas explosions, fires, fumes from that site. There's no way of moving all these 2,500 prisoners. No way. We've asked them. They could not move them in time or quick enough. What will happen inside when those people realize they can't get out and can't move quick enough when there's a problem? What will happen to our loved ones or the guards and the workers inside when they have to respond and contain or have to cope with what's going on outside? What do we want to say to them? No flight! Louder! No flight! But there is hope. Yes, the tide is changing. You are part of that. Yes, the media is giving us coverage. Yes, many of the environmental groups throughout the state and the country are now supporting us and are writing about us and talking about what grassroots can do, what you, the people, can do. That's what democracy is about. You can blame nobody about what's happening to you except yourself, because democracy depends on all of you and what you do. So not only does Governor Weld support us now, the Attorney General Harshberger and his office has supported us and has been in court supporting us. Weld has walked the site. Secretary of Environmental Affairs, Teenie Underweld, has also walked the site and is working actively with us. State legislators have voted, as you know, that that land is not to be transferred, right?
Yeah! No way!
And the federal legislators are now going down to Washington. And if they've got to, they're going to make it a law that that's not going to go there. So what are we going to say to them? Can't hear you. All right, finally, we all support the Boston Harbor cleanup, but there are alternatives. We know there are alternatives. NWRA and EPA know there are alternatives. We need for them to change that bad frame of reference and where they are. They're fixed. They need to be budged. We are the people to do that. We are the ones to make them be responsible to the Federal Clean Water Act. The whole country is now watching you and watching us, and we will win. Let me hear your anger. I want to hear. Okay, let's go get him.
I know it's getting cold out We'll try to rush along. Joanne Damish, select person from Walpole, would like to say a few words. And we're almost done, so hang in there. Stop your feet or do something to keep warm. Joanne.
I'll stay down here. It is because of you and all the people. You want to see me fall off this truck? It is because of you and all the people of Norfolk and Walpole that this battle has continued for as long as it has. There are those now who tell us the battle is over and we have won. But this is not true. This is what Paul Levy would like us to think. He would like us to be lulled into a false sense of security. We cannot allow that to happen. Now more than ever, we must all stay united and stay determined in our opposition against this landfill. The towns of Walpole and Norfolk will persevere and will continue and will never give up. No sludge!
This rally today is a combined effort of the towns of Walpole and Norfolk. And I'd like to take a moment to introduce Jim Brady from Walpole, who will come and say a few words. A warm welcome for Jim.
Thank you. As a member of the Prison Advisory Committee, which acts as a liaison between the town of Walpole and the DOC, I want to express to you we've had extensive negotiations with the Guards Union, which most of you know that since the beginning they've been behind us. The correction officers here today are 100% behind the battle to keep the MWA off this land. Dan O'Neill was going to be here today. Unfortunately, it was a death in one of the leadership's families, so they couldn't make it. But they will appear tomorrow, I believe, or tomorrow afternoon before an appeals court of Massachusetts, and will enter an appearance on behalf of or with the towns of Walpole and Norfolk to prohibit the siting of this facility. So I think for the Guards, I think the message for them should be, we're with you folks, and we're glad you're with us. We're not here to disturb you. We're certainly here to make our message known. The other issue is clear. It's this siting process from the beginning has been flawed. The chances of them picking this site based on 299 and all the arithmetic comes down to 1 in 20 million. This thing isn't scientific. It isn't environmental. It's political, and it's being run by a bunch of idiots out of Boston. If you call someone a liar in this state and it's not true, you can be sued for slander. Paul Levy's a liar! He's lied to us since day one, and we know it, and he's not going to get away with it. We have already sacrificed our towns. We have the state's maximum security prison. We house 33% of the state's prison population. We've done more than our fair share for the Commonwealth, and we're not going to take the sludge. No more. It's not coming here. It's important that everyone know that beginning the 18th, they're going to be on site. They've already got stuff on site here. The MWRA has explosives on site and a lot of other stuff already up here behind these prisons. Okay? Now they're going to be here with their bulldozers, and we've got to be back here to stop the digging, because once they dig those test pits, there's 30 of them, folks. They're 30 feet by 30 feet by 20 feet deep. You can put a house in it. There's 30 of them up on that rolling hillside that I hope we can go up and take a look at. And if they dig that, they're going to move 450,000 cubic feet of earth. They'll desecrate that property, and they will have won this battle. So be on guard. Don't be afraid to come back out here, and we have to be prepared to take the next step if it's necessary, and that is to prohibit the digging. It's too late once the bulldozers get here. You're going to stop them off of the pass, people. Let's get on with it. So it's important that everyone keep on top of the issue. Most of the people here are well aware of what's going on. I just suggest that so we can all warm up, and I think that Starlark 13 next door here, the Bay State Correctional Facility, gets the message. I suggest we start marching up there with a nice no sludge and let them hear it as well. Thank you very much.
All right, one more. Frank Gaynor, selectman from Norfolk, will say a few quick words, and then we'll close. And if we want to take a walk, it's a nice day, we can do that. Here's Frank. And Adam.
And Adam, he was mad as hell before, but he's okay now. I'd like to thank you all for coming out here. I think about 2 or 3 years ago when we started fighting this thing, it became real public. I don't think the MWRA or the state thought, big deal, Walpole, Norfolk, couple thousand people, what do they have to say? We're not going to listen to them. Well, we've shown them that they have to listen to us. We've got the facts. We can tell them why they shouldn't put it here. And look, it's a whole different ball game. MWRA was doing whatever they wanted 2 years ago. Now they're listening. Now they're worried about us. We've got the legislature to vote. We've got a good governor who's behind us. The only problem we got now is Julie Balaga and the EPA, and we're working on that. But we can't let up for a second. A lot of people say, we've won. It's all over. It's not. It's not all over until they have another place to put it, and it's not here. But we have to keep the pressure up on them. And I think we should take a walk up there and just make sure everybody up there knows that this is not where it's going to go. Thank you.
All right, in closing the program for today, one of the things that I'd just like to get off my chest here is this NIMBY situation. I don't know how many of you saw Green Watch last weekend, but again, Paul Levy was there live, and when asked what NIMBY meant, he said, not in my backyard. But if you turn around, what's in our backyard? Are we NIMBY? No. Have we done our share? Yes. I dare anyone in this state to accuse the residents of Walpole and or Norfolk to be NIMBY. We are not. And we are a good host community, both communities, and we will continue, hopefully, to be good host communities. This prison has always been good to us. We have been good to them. So let's hope that nothing takes place that would cause us to change that relationship. We value it, and I know that the DOC does. As far as other initials, EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. Ironic as it seems, are they protecting our environment? So that's why we're convinced they're the Environmental Pollution Agency. We know it. All right, in closing, I'd just like to take an opportunity to publicly thank some people. I got involved in this a while ago, God knows how, but we're all involved for many reasons. Lisa Powers, if these people would step forward, please, so we could see them. Nancy Seitz and Ginger Nelson. Believe me, these girls have been key people. We have worked together wherever they are. They're hiding. Night and day, day and night. And believe me when I tell you, you've never seen such hard workers. We know we'll know each other in this life and any other life ahead of us. We've become very close. Aside from them, or included with them, Save Our State members. What a group. These women, believe me, you guys would not believe what workers. They're so dedicated. They support everything we do. They help. They run off flyers, do phone calling, you name it. Without them, Norfolk would be more quiet about this because we wouldn't have that vocal group. They have done a tremendous job. The residents of Walpole have worked together to enhance the situation. They've lobbied. They've done everything that you all know about. And we thank the Walpole people, Mary Jane and Jim Brady, Phyllis McLean, Harriet Stewart, all the people that made this possible today. The Walpole Selectmen have been fabulous. The Norfolk Selectmen equally. Bill Treeful, the Norfolk Police Department. Hate to leave anyone out. Everyone that has helped. It's made us be able to get to this point. I just want to leave you on this note. It's not over. We rely on you. We depend on you, and we need you. Please be available. Check cable TV. The Norfolk town will blast their signal for 5 minutes. Come to the site. We don't want to cause any kind of trouble, but we do want them to see that we're still here and we're not going away. Thank you for coming today. It means more than you'll ever know to all of us who have worked on this for a long time. Continue to working, and if we would like to go ahead and take a walk down, I think it might be a good idea. Thanks to Jim and Jill who provided the sound system. They are fabulous, helping us out whenever they can. A million thanks to everybody. Continue to support us. Oh, wait, one thing I almost forgot. On the back of that that sludge song sheet. Now keep that. It's going to be in the top 10, I'm sure, this week. On the other side are some little lyrics, little songs that are kind of new to the chart. And I have a good friend who has a big voice, and he's going to lead you. If we could just have a little song fest, and then we'll walk down. Fred Merkel?
What are we singing?
Right from the sheet.
Okay.
Take it from
Which one? How about when Julie goes marching home again? Take it from there.
Let's sing loud.
1, 2, 3, as loud as we can. When Julie goes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah. When Belega goes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah. If the EPA would take her away, our state would say a big hooray. And we'd all be much more environmentally safe. Environmentally safe. I should practice once in a while. One more time, same chorus. When Julie goes marching.
That sludge cross the Walpole line. We're already doing our share, and it's just not fair to truck that sludge over the Walpole line. The Duke of Toll Freight, he can take it to the bank. That sludge will go elsewhere. We always smiled until we couldn't rely, and now it's more than we can bear. Don't let it cross over. Cross over, let that sludge cross the Walpole line. Don't let it cross over, cross over. Don't let that sludge cross the Walpole line. With Nickfield, Sharon, Norwood, Oxford, Norfolk, Dover,